What's going on, everybody? Another Wednesday night stream, props.cash with my very good friend Jake at Money Badger Bets. Uh Jake, were you with me last week? No, I don't think so, right? I was
Wasn't,
just
yeah.
solo.
Had a family issue pop up, but you were dolo. I was there the week before though.
That's my best boy. I'm sorry again for your family issue that popped up.
Yeah.
Sad stuff. But no need to get into that. We got to get into some winners. I know I have the stream as NFL Week 1 prop bets because we absolutely are going to be talking NFL Week 1 prop bets, but we're going to start with 3 MLB bets for tonight. So we're going to do it, not a whole look through the MLB board. We're going to just stick to the 3 bets that Jake has. I'll play a little devil's advocate with him on those. And then we're going to be talking straight NFL props for Week 1. So 3 winners for tonight. So we'll make sure that we get some good plays in for everybody to maximize some value for tonight's slate for MLB. But we're going to be talking a lot more NFL because NFL, of course, is king. Give me 12 seconds to get my promo out, as I always do. And we're going to get started. So, Jake, you have 3 picks. I already am giving a little bit of a tease of what game one of them is on because I already have it pulled up on props.cash. But talk to me about your favorite, or one of your best bets for tonight so we can get the audience something to sweat out. Then we can start talking some football.
Yeah, now we're going to talk football, but who doesn't want to put some money down on the table tonight? And honestly, usually these Wednesday evening slates are like 3-4 games. We had like more than double that today. Just not as many good spots as I thought that there would be. It's just that weird part of the MLB season where teams that are probably not making the playoffs are experimenting with new starting pitchers, younger starting pitchers, trying to turn relievers into starters for next season. So I do have 3, though. What do we have? Okay, Minnesota, Toronto. Awesome. So my first play is Toronto minus 1.5. I got that at plus 114 on FanDuel, and I got it like an hour or so ago. So you should still be able to get that line. So Simeon Woods Richardson returns today after he was out for like a month with like a parasite in his GI system. So weird injury there. Shouldn't really affect his actual performance. Like it's not like it was a shoulder, elbow, a legit injury. He just had a stomach issue. But he has not been good away, allowing a 261 batting average and not good at night either. So his splits are not in his favor at night. He's allowing a 286 batting average. His home and day splits are much, much better than that. So bad spot for him to return here. And Minnesota's bullpen is at the bottom of the league. They've been there all season. And they're going to see these Toronto bats that really should have no problem putting up runs here. They've been doing it consistently for, 2-3 months. I feel like all I've been doing is waiting for Toronto to stop being elite as a Yankee fan. And it's been legit all gas and no brakes for them for months now. So they've been pretty consistent there. They should be able to get their runs. And then Toronto will have Eric Lauer pitching, who thrives at home. He allows only a 162 batting average at home, and at night only a 200 batting average. So very good splits for Eric here. Total opposite of Woods Richardson. The only red flag is he's been having the worst month of his season oboe-wise. So he's been allowing the most hits in the month of August. Really not many earned runs. He's been getting hit up and been getting out of those jams, but also Minnesota can't hit right now. So really not worried about that. They're 26th in batting average in the last 15 days, and they're 25th in the last 7 days. So they're not hitting the ball. Eric Lauer is elite in these splits. I think he's going to have a great outing. Simeon Woods Richardson is returning from injury. I guess you can consider it. And these are not good splits for him against Toronto bats that are very, very good. I don't see how, and getting this at plus money, that's a steal too. I know they're home, but I mean, it could be an 8-1, 8-2 type of game. So I like the minus 1.5 at plus 114.
A potential domination. And like you said, Jake, if you look through like last 30 for Toronto, last 15, all season, a lot of green for this offense. They're just absolutely killing it. And like you said, everybody, I feel like, of course, Yankees fans more than probably some Red Sox and Yankees fans, the one thing they can agree on this year, I'm sure, or ever, is that they both want Toronto to finally start losing. But the Blue Jays just won't do that. They just keep absolutely raking. Springer's been back. He's been doing pretty well since coming back. Has a home run, highest slated power. Vladdy, Bo having a resurgent season. Vladdy obviously been cooking. Varsho, and then also Jake, the Blue Jays gonna be stacking a good amount of left-handed bats. Nothing crazy, but 3 lefties to end that lineup there with Varsho the fourth. How was Woods Richardson against left-handed bats? Did you take a look at that?
I did. Let me just pull it up one more time because I'm not remembering off the top of my head. Usually, if there was a drastic change or a drastic edge there, I would have it highlighted. You said against lefties, right?
Yes.
Yeah, he allows a 291 batting average, so not good versus his right-handed pitchers 220. I wonder if they made some adjustments there because I thought I saw only 4 or 5 were in the lineup, in the expected lineup. So if that's confirmed, then that is even more in my favor. So yeah, 291 batting average to lefties, not good for him.
Not good at all. I don't really have much to debate you on here. I'm a big fan of Lauer. He's done a really good job this season. Props.cash currently not showcasing the right lineup here. I want to see what the Twins have going out, but they're showing me the Jays lineup against Lauer. But I like the Blue Jays, like they just keep taking care of business, and the Twins, like they've been better than everybody probably would have expected with all the selling that they did at the deadline. Like, of course, they shed so much payroll, but they're still doing pretty well overall. Quick look at home runs here, and Vladdy 350 at MGM. I mean, Vladdy hasn't had the biggest power season. 21 home runs is still amazing. Like, don't get me wrong, it's having an incredible season, but the power department hasn't been there. But 350 to FanDuel and Penny, there's definitely expected value there for Vladdy to go yard.
Bo Bichette went yard on him last time.
Yeah, let's take a look at some BVP. Actually, it's a great call. Let's see if there's anything. Very small amounts of BVP. Jimenez was on the Guardians, so it makes sense he has more, that he saw him more often. But in very, very small sample sizes here, we do have a lot of green against Simeon Woods Richardson, though, again, tiny, tiny sample size. So nothing really noteworthy there. But as you see right here, Richardson against lefties, it's 310, but you add in the the switch hitters he faces, which are, of course, with that against lefties. So that definitely brings the average down to what you were mentioning there before, Jake. Righty's doing well overall, but with that being said, I know that they have a loss of an at bat here because, again, they are the home team in Toronto. But I don't have anything really there to talk you off that ledge there.
No devil's advocate for this play. I love to see it.
None. But let's go to another best bet that you have. We're going to the Nerfy market. Props.cash has a fantastic Nerfy interface here with some records for players. Of course, we're switching over games. We're going to Colorado, Houston. Got the rookie Dollander going, Framber Valdez, the lefty going for Houston. Are you going Nerfy or Yurfy here, Jake?
I'm going Nerfy. And people look at Chase Dollander and they're like, wow, his numbers absolutely suck. But he's actually a respectable pitcher in away games, which is like typical Colorado mantra. But in away games, he's only allowing a 219 batting average, and at night, only a 232 batting average. Now, that also includes his night games in Coors Field. So he's actually a pretty respectable pitcher away. He's pitching very well. I'd love to see him on like a normal team in a normal ballpark, or like put him in a ballpark like San Fran. I wonder what he could do. I think he could be really good in the future, but I also think these Houston bats have been not that great. They go in little spurts of being good for a week or two, but right now they're sitting at 29th in batting average in the last 15 days. I think Dollander can get 3 outs without letting up a run here in this game. And then Framber's on the mound, and he has very similar numbers at home. He's only allowing a 214 average at home, and at night only a 228 batting average. So good number on Framber's end, great splits. And Colorado isn't hitting either. They shockingly were hitting the ball great. Now, if you look at those games, a lot of them were they had a couple home series in that stretch when they were hitting well, so that makes sense. But now in the last week, they dropped back down to 28th in batting average. So I think we could see 6 up, 6 down, a quick easy cash. I got this at minus 120 on Hard Rock. I actually originally had it at minus 125 on BetMGM. That was the best number. Right before I sent it out and locked it in, I found it at minus 120 on Hard Rock. So that might still be available there. But this number is fluctuating. I don't know if you have the odds up there because I saw minus 140s, I saw minus 135s, minus 120. So definitely look around for the best possible option here if you have multiple books with different options and prices.
Absolutely. Always go price shopping. Props that cash before on the Nerfy interface was showing, I think, an average odds of -135. So
Yeah.
definitely some options around for this Nerfy. And I like what you said about Dollander because he is a kid. He's straight up a rookie, and he is going to be a really good player. But like you said, you look at the home games, obviously. He's not at home, but a couple of blow-up starts against Nationals, 9, 7 against the A's. 7 against these same Houston Astros, but again, these are hits allowed, excuse me. 6 earned against those Astros, 7 against the Dodgers. But those are home games. When you go to the away games in the season, he had one bad start against KC, but that I think was his second or maybe third start.
Way early.
And then ever since, really great numbers for a kid who is a highly, highly, highly touted prospect, of somebody who's expected to be good. And on the flip side, like you said, the little Mickey Mouse run, like every team in the MLB, we've talked about this for 3 months now, Jake, like when it comes up must go down, whether it be in a good way or a bad way. The Rockies, of course, generationally bad offense. Of course, they hit a little bit of a stride, but now considering how bad their talent level is, of course, they came back down to earth. That was last year. So Framber didn't get to face them this year. And also what you were talking about, Jake, with like hits allowed and Framber like earned runs. Looking at the chart, like earned runs have been higher a little bit, but when we go back to the home, hits allowed, you have 2 big outlier games, call it really 3 with San Diego back in April. So those 9 and 7 hit games are going to like really, kind of inflate those numbers where straight up Framber's been pretty excellent. Keeps the walks down. He had a couple of big walk games at home this year. Framber, of course, has such nasty stuff that sometimes it's too nasty that he's just throwing too many balls. But another play that I can't really debate because I agree with you entirely that Dollander is a good player. And when Houston is cold, like we know they can be.
When they're cold, man. Like they'll go on 2-week stretches of being dead last in batting average. It's crazy.
And somehow they're still doing such good work in the American League. And of course, we're approaching the playoffs. So we're going to see how that all shakes out with the MLB playoff picture. But I just need to confirm this right now. I haven't looked at any MLB news. I'm looking at the lineups on Underdog and Weather monitor here. I don't see a confirmed lineup just yet. Rockies confirmed here because I'm seeing on Props.cash a Jordan Alvarez right here. And if Jordan Alvarez I didn't see news that Jordan is back. Did I miss something?
Not that I know, but I do see him in the DH spot on RotoWire, but that's the expected lineup still. I just refreshed it. So Colorado's is confirmed. Houston still is not confirmed.
Yes, because maybe they're confirming if Jordan Alvarez could play. Let me do a little quick Twitter search here. Jordan Alvarez yesterday is back, activated from the injury list. So the injury list.
Slugger from the 60-day IL on Tuesday, August 26th. So he's reinstated yesterday. I guess he is he's probably going to be in the lineup.
So he played yesterday, I'm saying. Yeah. He played yesterday against Colorado. Okay. So this is new news to me. I bet some MLB yesterday, but I just bet some EV stuff. I didn't really do a full deep dive of the slate, didn't do any streaming or anything. So I missed that Jordan was all the way back. And what's better than when the big man is back? Jordan Alvarez is an absolute stud.
Yeah, that should help him a little bit, but it's not scaring me away from this play. I bet you that's why the Nerfy line went down a little bit when I just locked it in. I wonder if that was confirmed that he was in the lineup again today. Maybe they didn't know if he was going to go back-to-back days, and now he's going to. So maybe it shifted that line towards the Nerfy, obviously.
Absolutely, though. I do think that after coming back from the injury that Jordan had, as much as I love the big man, and of course they, have him playing, so they know he's healthy enough to play. Not going to. I personally wouldn't think just because Jordan's in the lineup that that would make me the Nerfy now. But I'm just seeing too, Jordan in his 4 rehab games, of course, not MLB competition, but went 7 for 15 with 4 doubles, 4 ribbies, and 2 walks. So the big man is ready to rake. And Dolly, of course, is a young pitcher, but still much better than the talent he was seeing in rehab. But nothing better than for the game of baseball than when the big man is back, because Jordan is an absolute stud. But guys, I want to talk NFL. We have one more play, but I want to give you guys some sweats for tonight. Jake is giving you. He's got Toronto -1.5, Nerfy, Colorado, Houston. One more MLB game, then we're going to talk through some NFL Week 1. let's keep on moving. Now, I didn't do any research on much MLB prior, so we're going to use, of course, the amazing props.cash to find it. But we have Shohei Ohtani against Nick Lodolo, Cincinnati, LA. Jake, are the Dodgers going to hit Lodolo, or is Lodolo and the Reds coming for a are they going to, play a good ball game here? What do you think?
Honestly, neither. So I don't think the Dodgers are going to hit Lodolo, but I don't think the Reds are going to come to play either. I took the Dodgers team total under 4.5. I got at -113 on FanDuel. Lodolo also is returning from an injury, a finger blister injury. So he was on the 15-day injury list because of a blister. Now, hopefully 15 days recovered that, but this is actually a recurring issue for him. In the past, he's been out for the same exact blister injury. So I don't know if he's grips the ball a certain way that causes the same blister to come back, but I think he's dealt with it in the past. So he knows his limits on being ready to return. And I actually love his numbers here. He's been an absolute road warrior this season, allowing only a 188 batting average in away games and a 208 batting average versus righties. We all going opposite of what I just said about Toronto. The Dodgers bats have been very underwhelming, in my opinion, for like a while now. We know that what comes up must come down, but I'm like still waiting for their bats to come back down to being normal or go back up, I guess you could say, because they've just been not top of the leaderboard in hitting for a couple months now. And they're expecting 7 righties in their lineup who Lodolo pitches well to. So on top of him pitching well away, pitching well versus righties, there's going to be 7 righties in a Dodgers lineup that is not even hitting well in the first place. Cincinnati has a pretty good bullpen, top 10 bullpen, top 11 bullpen in the league, and they're all pretty available. I'm not going on the Cincinnati money line. It looked very pretty to me, but their bats have also been pretty bad and unreliable. So, I could still see a Dodgers 3-1 victory here. So I'm not saying I like Cincinnati by any means, but I do like the matchup with Lodolo and the Dodgers bats. And I have some faith in the Cincinnati bullpen as well. 4.5, I think, is way too much. So I'm taking the team total under here.
Back in July 29th, Lodolo 11 Ks at home against the Dodgers, only allowing 2 earned, 1 home run in Great American Small Park. So isolating on the Dodgers team total under 4.5 for the game. And again, I really like this is just a good talking point for generally speaking, because we're going to go into the NFL, and this is going to, this translates across every single sport. Whenever you have a team like the Dodgers or like the Chiefs or a player like a Ohtani, everyone's going to be inclined to bet that over. But with that being said, it's going to often just create value on the under. And that's pretty natural here. So I know it's scary per se to bet on the under on the situation when you don't want to, fade a Dodgers team, fade an Ohtani, fade a LeBron James, etc. But because of the public perception, and this is sometimes where, like, don't get me wrong, like the number's the number, and especially if you're getting close to the game starting, I'm not saying that the public is really shaping a line. That's not what I'm saying at all. But I am saying because of the overconfidence of the public betting that over, as well as the market efficiency on that singular player or team, that exists a little bit more efficient than a normal team because of the expected, higher volume of bets, that there's going to be inherent value on betting on the under in some of those situations. So Dodgers fade the way they've been playing really for the last 30 and the last 15. They've kind of picked it up a bit, especially the top of the lineup. Kike looks like he might be back, though, while he's a great vibes player and, a good asset for LAD. I don't think he really, inclines me to bet this over here, but I'm not fading Jake at all today. No really devil's advocate for me.
Let's go,
Jake's 3 bets. Before we get into NFL, I already have 2 side bets going, and I have some prop bets I want to look through, and we can lock in on stream together with props.cash. But Jake's bets: Toronto -1.5, +114. Colorado Houston Nerfy -120. LAD team total under 4.5. Make sure you guys are line shopping. But Jake, this beautiful tab on props.cash, NFL.
Let's say it.
And just like that, we are back. Thank you for everybody who stuck through the first 20 minutes of MLB. If you're an MLB fan, as obviously Jake and I are, but let's talk some NFL now because 'tis the season. Monday will be September 1st, and I haven't looked at the Thursday night game yet, but I do have some games, some plays that I like. I'm going to go, unsurprisingly, to my Washington Commanders. And I know a lot of people currently are probably, in the midst of doing fantasy drafts, have probably done like 10 of them already, and probably have 10 more coming up in the next week. So, not that I'm like a fantasy expert, nor do I pretend to be, nor do I honestly want to be. This is going to be some double game. I am going to look at I looked at this earlier, pass plus rush yards, not pass plus rush yards, excuse me. I want rush plus receiving, Austin Eckler. I know everybody is in love with Bill Jacory Merced, or however you pronounce his last name, the Commanders running back, who is flying up fantasy draft boards, flying up, best ball boards, and is getting a ton of interest. But all that's doing, in my opinion, Jake, and I don't know if you have any thoughts, I'll pass the floor to you in a second here. All that has done is put more value on Austin Eckler, if you ask me.
Yeah.
Let's see. We're seeing so the
B-Rob is also gone.
B-Rob, of course, was traded. Of course, that has an impact. Looks like these lines aren't popular for props like cash. So we can go between rushing and receiving individually. I don't really care for head to H data, but Jake, Austin Eckler is Washington's RB1. I don't want to hear any bones about it. I know you're not going to be the one debating me on that, but Austin Eckler is the Commanders running back one. He is a late round fantasy winner, in my opinion, if you guys can snag him, because you've got Bill going in rounds like 6, 7, 8. That's an absolute overpay. Dan Quinn, coaches have been raving about Eckler and how good he looks this season. If we go back to his receiving yards, which is something that he did so well last year, clearing his numbers, which were sitting so low. Look at this hit rate on the season, 60% to the over with an average of 30 yards. That's receiving yards. And then we go to the rushing yards. Just I know Deebo Samuel is there and might take some backfield type snaps away. But I think those are snaps that people are expecting the rookie to get. But I don't think that's going to really impact Eckler. And I think the Commanders are going to do what a lot of teams do with veteran running backs that are definitely toward the tail end of their career, and that is run them into the ground, especially when they still have some gas left in the tank. And I think we saw all last year that Eckler has gas left in the tank. Again, on his 60% on his rushing, on his receiving, 53% on his rushing, which obviously isn't great because, again, he's not going to be that straight line rusher. But his rushing receiving yards at BetMGM at 43.5. Wish we had the data populating here for that, but we do not on props right now. But with that being said, with averaging almost 4 targets a game, longest rush average 15.4 yards, averaging 6.6 rush attempts. But again, if you're talking such a low total, if you average 3 yards a carry, you're getting a little bit over 18 yards there. And this snap count, I think, at 47.5 is going to be closer to 50, especially early in the season. So if you guys want to get in, I think we'll get some good CLV on this, and also on his touchdown, plus 240, already EV on some DK. Feed me, Jake, all the Austin Eckler week 1.
Yeah, I have nothing to go against you here. I'll actually add to it. Giants defense against the run was not great last year. I know they did some things in the offseason, drafted some guys. Until it's proven, it's not proven. And Jaden Daniels, he's still a young quarterback, man. It's the first game of the season. There's going to be a lot of pressure on Deebo, McLaurin, and eyes on them even in the pass game. What are you going to do with the young quarterback in game 1 to shake off the rust? Quick little passes, get the ball out, send the targets all the way down the field, dish the ball out to Eckler, let him go get a first down, 10 yards here and there, 7 yards here and there, extend the run game. And I'm with you. He has all the experience. What are you going to do? Put the ball in a young backfield and hope for the best in your opening game, where there's plenty of season to go. There's plenty of how do you pronounce the starter, second string, the young kid? What's his name?
It's like Bill Jacory Merritt, but he goes by Bill.
Bill.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, what are you going to do? Put the pressure on Bill when you have a veteran like Eckler, who's been there, proved himself last year. Like you just said, he still has gas left in the tank. He did this last year. I was on so many Austin Eckler props last year, and I picked him up in fantasy, and he balled out for me. So nothing bad to say about Eckler. And honestly, I don't think the Giants defense is going to be that good. Of course, all my Giants friends, no, the Giants defense are going to be elite. The offense is probably going to suck again, whatever, but I don't see it. I don't see it yet. Until it's proven to me, I don't see it. And this will be a good test for them against the Commanders, who, I mean, it's not like their offense got any worse. Their offense only got better from last year, and we saw what they were able to do.
Absolutely. The Commanders, just generally speaking, because I guess we could talk some just like team outlook and do a little bit of like a double dive here. I'm torn on the Giants. Obviously, I think they suck, but I think that they might, like, you know how there's always a team that's like terrible metrics wise, but somehow is like 6-2 going into week 9, but like they're 25th in EPA, like, and have all these like terrible like advanced stats, but like somehow are winning games.
Super lucky.
I think the Giants could unfortunately be that team this year. But like this again, like I don't have like a massive deep dive and do like a full like analysis breakdown of like MYJ, like a team preview. I'm not gonna go into a whole thing with the Giants there. But with that being said, they profile with that pass rush as a team to me that if they can force those turnovers and those high variance plays in their favor, obviously their quarterback situation is going to be probably laughable. Of course, they got Neighbors, but overall, like, are they going to be this like well-oiled machine? Absolutely not. But the Giants don't scare me as like a potential good team, but they scare me as a team that could potentially just somehow win football games. Not handicapping this game from like a slider total perspective, though. Commanders overs all year long until they set that shit at 59.5 because that defense is abysmal.
Or their defense somehow is magically good.
I mean, their defense is good because Jaden Daniels is just playing so much offense because they're just going to move the ball so methodically. And of course, Tunsil, now Samuel, of course, McLaurin back. Long story short, though, on this game, we'll move on to another game and talk some more props. But for me, Jake and chat, fantasy, big Eckler guy, week 1, big Eckler guy. I think that while this number is pretty in line with his number from last year, that 43.5 rushing receiving, that's around what he sat at for most of the year last year. I think that the Ja'Cory, Krosky, Merritt, the Bill hype, I do think Bill is actually going to be a good player, but I think that from a fantasy perspective and definitely from a prop betting perspective, week 1, that you're going to be getting more value on Eckler than you're going to be getting on Bill over 34.5 rushing yards. I think you go to the seasoned vet that still has gas in the tank to be Washington's RB1 early. So
I'll add one more thing too, Eric.
Of course.
It's also, look traditionally, like last year, Bucky Irving and White, like everyone thought White was going to be the guy there. Bucky Irving was the young guy. Game 1 and 2, it's not like they just gave Bucky Irving all the love. Like, it's going to take Bill time to earn those stripes and be the guy that's like the old reliable, where Eckler already has that title. If this game for some reason is coming down to the wire at the end, who do you think they're going to have in?
Exactly. And also, I'm a big Coach Speak guy. I know there's the Twitter account Coach Speak Index, and they do an absolutely great job. I'm actually looking at a tweet right now from FTN Fantasy, a great fantasy sports app. Promo code BetSmart, 10% off FTN. In games without Brian Robinson, only 3 games last year, 60% of the snaps, 23.4% of the opportunities, 30.6% of the touches, 42.3% rush share. And then, of course, now with Chris Rodriguez and Bill being the only 2 running backs also on that roster, of course, you have Debo, who I'm sure will get a couple of rushes, as we see with a rushing yard line already set at 9.5. And the Commanders in their preseason game against the Bengals, when they did play their starters, did start that game right off of the Debo run. So I definitely do expect some Samuel in the backfield. But with that being said, give me all the Eckler touchdown plus 240, and give me all the Eckler rushing and receiving combines. I'm not singling out either. I want the combined yardage that we see, 43.5 at MGM. Let's keep rocking. So from prop perspective, I don't have a ton, but I'm very willing to convince myself to bet some props right now. I do have some game lines that I bet. We'll actually go to KC LAC. Of course, the big.
I was just gonna mention that game, Eric. This game always gets me. Like, how do you not take the Chargers? They play against the Chiefs so well every year.
I bet the Chiefs money line already. So
already?
Yeah, I bet the Chiefs money line 3 weeks ago. I got minus 155. It's sitting minus 170. I got some line value already.
Even though Travis Kelce is changing his last name to Swift.
I mean, listen, man, if he gets, I think Taylor at this point is probably a better football player than Kelce might be.
Oh, boy. I had 2 fantasy drafts yesterday, side note, and he was just hanging around later in the rounds. And I'm like, I drafted him last year. It was a shit show. I was like, I'm not making that. Fool me once, shame on me, or shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. I'm not going down that path again. Especially now, everyone's gonna probably want Travis Kelce. Oh, he's gonna be a married man. He's motivated. Get out of here with that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't buy those narratives. That being said, feed me all the Chiefs. I think the Chargers. I'll do a little more team outlook, and like I said, I did bet Chiefs money line already. The spread is 3.5. Of course, 3 being a key number. So definitely time to wait for locking this in. You got what, like 9 days. So of course, try to get the best number if you are wanting to ride. Not trying to give it out as like a past post, but we're talking football. If we're talking football, I think the Chargers, Jake, I think last year they overperformed expectation, though. They were probably like around, they're probably like perfectly rated, but I don't think they take a leap this year. I don't think they take a massive step back either. I think the Chargers are just an 8-9, 9-8 type of football team. What about you, Jake? Do you think I'm low on LAC, perfectly rated on LAC, or high on LAC?
I think you're a little low on them, or maybe I'm a little higher on them. I like Justin Herbert. I think Lad McConkey is going to make a huge leap this year. I mean, he was already pretty elite last year. Now, he's going into this year with all that confidence, with that extra chemistry with Herbert. They bring back Keenan Allen. I don't know. I'm higher on them. I think that they could give, honestly, if I had to lean here, it would be the Chargers with the points, but that's just me.
No, I mean, listen, this is NFL. NFL season, everybody has an opinion on the games, which is what makes NFL so much fun and also so great for entertainment purposes as well. Like, of course, like if you and I sat here for 30 minutes talking about Herbert versus Mahomes, like we could do that, but we're trying to provide more value around the margins, as a la the conversation we just had about Bill versus Eckler. Of course, everyone's talking Bill, but I'm taking a little bit of a contrarian take. I'm talking about how I think Eckler is the guy for at least absolutely week 1. And again, season-long fantasy as well, I think he's definitely a worthwhile look. But we're trying to give you guys some more like value overall. But with that being said, we're playing this game in Brazil. If you guys don't remember last year, that Packers,
on a Friday.
That Packers Eagles game was a massively high-scoring game, a slippery turf, some altitude as well down in Brazil. So we could see definitely a shootout overall with these two teams, though. Of course, KC is not without Rishi Rice. Rishi Rice, their offense looks a little bit lackluster. Of course, we got Pacheco back fully healthy. But I'm going to take one more play, not for this game, but something that I love, and I'll find the best price as I speak. This is the Patrick Mahomes revenge year, Jake. I think Mahomes has heard all the noise, he's mid, he didn't play so amazing last year. But we're talking about the best player in the National Football League. We're talking about arguably the best quarterback of all time, if not one, definitely two, and definitely can get to that 1 point. It's down to 7-1. I saw it as high as 10-1 a couple of weeks ago. But give me all the Patrick Mahomes MVP, Jake.
Cannot deny it. I mean, he's definitely going to be up there. Josh Allen's going to be up there. Lamar's going to be up there. It's really going to be the same 3 names, I feel, until anyone comes in. I mean, your boy Daniels could also be up there if he puts last year on repeat, but like these guys aren't going anywhere. Josh Allen just got paid. He's not going anywhere. Lamar just got paid. He's not going anywhere. Patrick Mahomes is going to be with the Chiefs forever. He's not going anywhere. And when you're already in how can I explain this in an easier term? When you're already in a system that is literally your system, which all 3 of those guys are in, like they're not going to break, or they're not going to fix what's not broken. Like Patrick Mahomes knows he's going to go out there just like Tom Brady did. They're calling the plays. They're calling the offense, just like Peyton Manning did, just like all these guys did it. It's their team. And it's the chemistry. There's not many changes with all those teams either. Getting him at 7-1, those are good odds. Like, how can you pass that up?
So with NFL futures, this is true in every sport, but of course, talking NFL, so we'll keep it NFL. This is a situation where if the Chiefs lose this football game, you're going to see in the Ravens come out to a win, the Bills get a win. Even if the Bengals, they got the Browns week 1, they pull off a win, and of course JD5, he's 7.5-1, the 4th or 5th shortest odds for the MVP. If those teams take care of business week one, if we get Mahomes at a better price. So with that being said, I do think there's definitely merit in not betting this right now. I'm also in New York, so I don't have the odds on like a DraftKings or FanDuel in front of me. Otherwise, I pull it up. I'm looking at a alternate site that I don't know how updated the odds are. But with that being said, and I guess just more general food for thought, I'm in on Mahomes. Like if you're telling me right now, like Eric, who's your MVP? My MVP is Patrick Mahomes, but be patient. Of course, it can go both ways. Say the Chiefs go to a 10-0 start, which of course is possible to the Chiefs. You're never going to see a 7-1 again. But with that being said, if the Chiefs start off 1-2 somehow, or even 0-1, you're going to be getting better odds on the Mahomes MVP, and that also goes for regular season most touchdowns or win totals or divisions, as we know. I love giving this example, and not just because I won the bet, partially because I won the bet, but 2 years ago, the Chiefs heading into the playoffs when they were a wild card were 10-1 to win the playoffs, to win the Super Bowl the week before the playoffs started, when all season you weren't getting a better price at all. In preseason, they were like 5-1. So moral of the story is, when it comes to futures markets in all sports, but particularly also the NFL, which of course small sample sizes, 17 game season, patience could also be your friend. I know you want to get in on your bets, and yes, you could miss out on a bet if say you take, again, I'll switch it up to a bet I've already given out, but if we have some new listeners, I bet the Titans over 5.5 wins. Yeah, if they go 2-0 to start the season, you're not seeing that 5.5 ever again, and you might have missed an opportunity. But if they go 0-2, you might be getting a 4.5 at a better price that you like. So yes, you can miss out on some things, but yes, you can also gain some value on some things, especially when futures are a bad bet generally, because there's very high holds. But when you do get a future at a good price at a good time, it's a great sweat, and it's potentially a plus money, a great ticket to be holding. You have hedge opportunities, you have opportunities to bet other guys, so you have multiple outs as well. But long story short, my MVP is Patrick Mahomes. And Jake, guess what? I'm putting you on the spot, gun to head. Who's your MVP?
Gun to the head, Joe Burrow.
Yeah. Joe Burrow at 6.5-1 as well, so shorter odds.
And let me add this though too, Eric. Two things. One is, when you're placing these bets, say you want to put $50 total on a future bet, the Super Bowl winner, the MVP winner. You don't have to put all $50 on it right away. You could split it up, throw $30 on it now, because then if that better opportunity comes down the road, you can always put the rest of your the rest of that $50 on the better odds, right? Mm-hmm. You don't always have to go all in right away. And then worst case scenario, they're off to a good start. You get a worse price, but still you have the original price, plus you have $20 to play with if you want to put it on there. Second thing, go look at their schedule. So here in Eric's example, the Chiefs open up against the Chargers. That's never really an easy game for them, a divisional game, first game of the season. Chargers aren't terrible. They're no pushover. Then they have the Eagles the week after. Then they have the Giants. They should smoke the Giants. Then they have the Ravens. Jaguars. They should beat the Jaguars. Then the Lions, the Raiders, the Commanders, the Bills. So they have a pretty hard first couple of games there. Tail end of the schedule, Broncos, Colts, Cowboys, Texans, Chargers again, Titans, Broncos, Raiders. So this might be an opportunity where, I know you already locked it in, but like Eric was saying, if you wait a couple of games, or you wait 5-6 games when they're maybe 3-3, as an example, because their first couple of games, the front end of their schedule is harder, you might get them at a better price down the road. That might be a good time to put the rest of your $50 down when you get them at, I don't know, plus 1,500, plus 1,100. So looking at those future bets, also take the schedule into consideration. No one knows what's going to happen in those games, but obviously if the beginning of the schedule is a little lighter than the tail end of the schedule, that can alter when you want to strategically put down those bets.
Absolutely. And when you're the Kansas City Chiefs, though, if you want to be the best, you got to beat the best, as they've done for a long time there. But no props that I love just from the game just yet. Of course, when I have some more live streams, I have 3 more streams this week. I have a boatload of streams next week. So, of course, we'll be locking in some more plays. So make sure you hit that follow button on X, Echo BetSmart. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. On Twitch, hit that follow button as well. But we'll be talking, of course, more NFL for the rest of until the Super Bowl. So
you ended last season with a Kansas City Chiefs bet.
I did.
And you're starting this season with a Kansas City Chiefs bet.
I will bet on Patrick Mahomes every day until he retires, and if he loses, I'll take the L gladly. I had Chiefs Eagles to make the Super Bowl last year.
I was on the Eagles. Told you the Eagles were going to win. I'm not going to forget that. But
I was doubling down every freaking time the Eagles scored until it was halftime, and then I said, "Okay, I guess I'm shot." But you give me Patrick Mahomes at plus money. Generally speaking, I'm betting Patrick Mahomes at plus money.
This guy loves Jackson Mahomes.
Jackson Mahomes. Not no comment there. Patrick Mahomes, GOAT. Keep rocking. We have a bunch of games, Jake. Is there any game that caught your eye so far? Because I could definitely have a couple of other teams and players that I'm talking about. This could be from just like a team preview you feel strongly about, a future you feel strongly about, a side or total you feel strongly about week one. Anything coming up for you?
I mean, I can't take my eye off the Ravens and the Bills game. So why don't we give that a look? And it's not a sense of I have a pick or anything in this game. I mean, I'm not looking at these games in depth probably until the beginning of next week. I mean, I keep up with the news. I just like when things are set in stone. Who knows what last minute injuries happen? It happens all the time. Not that I want it to happen, but you always go, X, Y, and Z's out with the torn ACL like two days before game day. Like I'm just trying to avoid all that. But I mean, this is going to be the best game of the week.
Oh, it's going to be a fun one. Absolutely. It's going to be a great game. Absolutely. Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, of course, the battle of the two MVP finalists, Josh Allen getting that MVP last year. I'm looking for some receiving yards on my man that I wanted to talk about, another like fantasy guy that I love, but he's not here. I just don't know if odds are up. I'll check
what is it?
FanDuel, but Keon Coleman. I'm a big believer in Keon Coleman this year. Again, we have the coach speak as well as the general Josh Allen. Of course, like nobody's going to really be throwing anybody under the bus after preseason, but I think Keon Coleman is a late game, or I should say late round if you're a fantasy player, potential league winner. I think that all the praise he's gotten, I think, is warranted. I'm looking on FanDuel right now on my other monitor just to see if the lines are up there. They might not be for Keon. Yeah, FanDuel doesn't have anything for this game, so that makes a little bit of sense there. But no, I think an offense like Buffalo's, of course, they are somebody who spreads the ball around. You have a great run game, of course, with James Cook. You have capable receivers all over with, Shakir, Kincaid. James Cook is good in the passing game. Keyword capable, though. Absolutely no real studs there. But somebody's got to step up as their wide receiver one. I know they like to spread the ball around, a la like the Mahomes, Kansas City Chiefs. They kind of took a play out of that playbook by getting rid of any wide receiver one and kind of keeping it just like a bunch of solid guys all around. But I think if anybody's going to really step up and be that guy, it's going to finally be that second-year player, Keon Coleman. And another thing that I would assume people are familiar with, but don't want to assume anything. In the National Football League, and I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I do a quick Google search. This is really a fact, and coaches talk about it all the time, players talk about it all the time, and the numbers back it up. Players going to their second year make their biggest leaps. So if you're a player and you're bad for your first 3 NFL seasons or first 2 NFL seasons, odds are you're never going to eventually become a good NFL player. When you see these leaps happen, and you have a guy like Coleman who was injured for a good amount of last year, it's kind of now or never. And especially what's important for wide receivers, this is true for all rookies or young players, but mostly for wide receivers that get hurt in training camp, their first year or their second year, it's very hard for them to recover because like Jake was talking about before, because when you miss all that time to really mesh with your team and get the system down, it becomes really difficult for you to actually become good at football from a playbook perspective and also from a translated onto the field perspective. Keon Coleman healthy all summer. And again, Buffalo kind of needs, and I say needs a little bit in jest because they're going to have Josh Allen, they have Superman, but they could use somebody to be that guy. And Keon Coleman with his catch profile, his athletic profile, his contested catch ability, his size, I think fits that mold for a player who is going to become Josh's number one target. And in Buffalo, that will only be 6 to 7 targets a game but with his crazy numbers that he put up last year from a yards per catch perspective, a yards per reception perspective, I think it's Keon Coleman. I think he's in for a big year, and I'm a big Keon Coleman fan this year.
Yeah. I'll also add, usually those really good receivers out of college go to a terrible team, terrible offense, an offense that's rebuilding, an offense that doesn't have a good starting quarterback or a quarterback with experience. Keon has that, like he has no excuse to not have a crazy breakout year. I'm sure Josh wants him to be that number one guy too. I mean, they have Shakir. Is he going to do what he did last year? Probably not, but he's a reliable guy. Keon Coleman's going to be the one that he's going to be their number one. In my opinion, he's going to be their number one. And like you said, if he doesn't have that breakout year, like what more do you want? You have the best offensive line in the league. That's all returning. So I did a breakdown on the AFC East on another show. I mean, the Bills are looking almost unstoppable minus their safety play. But an offensive line that's all returning, that was number one in the league last year, a quarterback who is favored to win the MVP. They're favored to win. They're the Super Bowl favorite right now too, is the Bills. What is your excuse to not be the number one receiver on that team if you have all that talent? So it is a make or break year for him. I think it's going to be more of a make year. I'm high on Keon Coleman as well, but they got other pieces. They got Elijah Moore. They picked up Palmer. Obviously, James Cook, they paid the guy. So, I mean, that offense is looking pretty dirty, but like DeMar Hamlin allowing a 130 QBR is not the answer for them. So they could be another, in general, overs team. They're going to get theirs. Their offense is going to be elite. They're going to beat up on pretty much any defense. Is their defense going to hold up? They made some changes up front. They got Bosa in there, hopefully to get some pressure on the quarterback because they were absolutely terrible at that last year. But if they can't do that and the quarterbacks are sitting there slinging it on the Bills defense again, Josh is going to always respond. It's a good spot for some overs, especially early in the season when the odds makers might not have as much of an edge. They always have an edge, but maybe not as much early on in the season.
No, early season NFL props are definitely like beatable. Props, generally speaking, are more beatable, though, as we know over the past couple of years, with prop betting becoming the preferred bet type of a lot of different sports bettors, that these lines have definitely become more efficient. But with that being said, early season NFL, especially because of the variance that comes with the National Football League, which is the highest variance sport because you're dealing with such small sample sizes, that's what makes the NFL such a fun sport to bet, two plus touchdowns, alternate receptions, alternate receiving yards, because the variance is so high, especially early in the year, where if the sports book, and it's not this simple, but if they're taking, say, like a median number for a player, say, we'll use James Cook as an example, say his median receiving yards is 10.5, and that's the number they go. This is actually a great chart to showcase that. You're going to see a bunch of zeros. Then you also see a bunch of 48, 49s where he blows out that number by 30 plus yards. So just some general like NFL like food for thought. Like, of course, you're going to have times where you're going to get lost by the hook or win by the hook when the numbers like exactly on point, because again, these guys that are making the odds, they're good at their jobs. Don't get me wrong. But with that being said, in such high variance games, especially with players like a Keon Coleman, or, we can go through all the rookies, all the second year players, even, just guys, even like a Tyreek Hill, who's like a boomer bust guy who his line can be 89.5, but he still goes for 200. The variance is there and it could be used in your favor. So I guess like just a piece of general advice is don't be scared to throw some ladders in there. If the pricing makes sense, of course, like if the baseline is 50.5 minus 110, and then 60 is, plus is even money, then yeah, it's just stick to the baseline there because there's no value. But if the price actually does equate to a better price, you can capture some variance in the National Football League, especially early in the year when, all year variance is high, but when, odds are probably a little bit softer and less, I don't know the best way to put it, but probably like less
maybe
variance per se.
Yeah, like less projectable. And it's crazy you bring up you'll have an over 42.5 receiving yards and they'll literally get 42 and you're like, damn, how did they know? There are multiple other player props out there that fly over the number. So it's all about using tools like props.cash that give you an upper hand on seeing like, all right, these are the props that are gonna probably fly over, or now I have all the resources to make this prediction instead of just going with probably one of the props that everyone is betting. Those are typically the ones that are a little more accurate, ironically, where all the money is, because there's always plays that fly over or fly under where it's a no-brainer, an easy cash, a first half cash, and those are the ones that we look for. Obviously, I mean, no one looks for a nail biter, but for every hook you lose by, there's other props out there that fly over the number, fly under the number, depending on which bet that you have, and it's all about finding those. And there's tons of tools out there to use it now or find those.
Absolutely. Easier said than done, but now is a great time because NFL is starting and 30% off your first month of Props.cash with promo code BetSmart. Seeing a lot of anytime touchdown parlays already hitting the timeline. Generally, it is a bad bet from a pricing perspective, though I'd be lying if I said I didn't love betting anytime touchdowns, especially parlays, just for the fun. James Cook, definitely a fun look there. Of course, Josh Allen, but like minus 108. It's probably like a kind of bad price for Allen, though. It's unsurprising. But another player I want to talk about quickly is Lamar Jackson, and I want to shout out to Judah Fort Gang. He did some work for PFF, does a lot of work for the Hammer Betting Network. Also, great colleague of mine. I got to pick his brain a little bit in Vegas the other week, and he was talking about Lamar and kind of Lamar's transition as a player. Obviously, he has the rushing ability, and he is, a dual threat to the fullest extent. And yeah, he's been cleared his number like last year, 79% at this number 38.5. But I would say the reason why this number is so low is because when you look at some of the data, and I think Props.cash will do a good job right here, as you can see. I'll try to zoom in a little bit more for you guys. Might be too much, but I'm trying to focus on one chart here. The rushing attempts really just not that high for somebody to expect. Like 8.4, of course, for a quarterback, generally speaking, is a high number. But all that to say is a guy like Lamar, when you look into some of the data, especially when you look into like who's playing around him and how he's doing, if he's like banged up or if he's like fully healthy, Lamar is really not running the ball as much as you want. And also like red zone rushing, like a lot of guys love Lamar anytime TD. And of course, Lamar can break one from 50 yards out because he's an absolute tank. But things to consider, understanding how players play, especially around bye weeks before and after, because the bye week is really when teams look at what's going on, look at what's going well, what's going poorly. And of course, every game plan is distinct for the opponent they're facing that week. So understanding those situations, understanding kind of what's been working, what's not working, and tendencies. Now, I don't like to love relying on tendencies the same way I don't love relying on hit rate because it can be misleading. You have to like know more about the story. But the moral of my story is understanding kind of the situations and what players are doing. And like, for example, at post bye, all of a sudden Lamar is running it 12 times a game his first 3 games. Yeah, you could think to yourself, okay, those might be 3 outliers. He's going to come down. Or the other form of thinking is, and this is going back to Judah, what he was talking about a little bit, is no, they regrouped after the bye, so it was working, and decide it's a good idea to keep running Lamar, more often. And that's something that you can expect to continue to happen because you're seeing some success there. And that's something that they specifically planned for. So back to Lamar, though, specifically, and this game specifically as well, I think that we're going to see a little less running from Lamar. Of course, he's an absolute tank and can turn up, but I'm going to be intrigued by Lamar passing props, especially when they're relatively low at a number like 233.5, because I think Lamar is I don't want to say like out to prove that he's the better passer, because I don't think that's not really what I think is the case. I just think he's an absolute freaking stud. He could throw the rock with anybody, and he actually looks to run less than I think people think Lamar likes to run. But let's keep going.
I wonder what his rushing yards on the year.
We have NFL season.
Do we have the season? Let's go.
Yes, we do.
Let's look at it.
Rush yards. Lamar, right here, 775.
Wow.
Last year, 915. Of course, Lamar can cook that number, but if this doesn't tell you kind of exactly what I was saying,
go ahead. I was just gonna say, ironic how he just flew over this number, and now everyone's gonna go back and look at this graphic and be like, oh wow, he flew over this. Why would we not hammer over 7 whatever?
because Lamar, I mean, even as low as 751 at freaking DK and Fanatics. So another thing for futures, by the way, always make sure you're shopping lines, and props.cash, has these odds, which makes it great. Because if you want to get like really crazy with it when there's big discrepancies like this, you could bet the over here, the under here, and hope for a middle if you're really feeling a little bit frisky. But no, I mean, this is a perfect example of what I was just talking about. And this comes down to, and Lamar, I'm not taking credit for it. Like, I've shout out to Judah because he was doing a seminar and was talking about Lamar specifically. Or he was talking about Caleb at one point, but like him and I were speaking about Lamar. So this actually caught my radar. I didn't even think to look at the season like this. So shout out to you, Jake, for putting that idea in my head. But there's some proof right there and kind of what I was just talking about.
So I have one touchdown play that I have been eyeing up for the last 2 days.
Talk to me.
Just had my a couple fantasy drafts this week. Emeka Egbuka, first touchdown score.
First TD for Emeka.
First TD at plus 1,100. I also like anytime, obviously, at plus 180. This is a scenario where if I do take both, obviously, it would be probably like a 0.1 unit play on the first touchdown score and maybe half a unit, 0.75 units on the plus 180, plus 195. I think FanDuel has it at plus 195 for anytime touchdown. But, dude, he's had a great camp. Godwin's coming off of an injury. They're playing the Falcons. The Falcons' pass defense was absolutely terrible last year. They allowed like over a 100 QBR. Baker's going to be slinging the ball. I think it's a good spot for the young kid to get the Bucs off to a hot start in versus Atlanta in the first game of the season. Get all the rust off or the first game jitters out of the way. Give the kid a touchdown early on and cash a plus 1,100 ticket. That'd be pretty sweet.
Of course, no data for the rookie, but we're talking about a Buckeye. Talking about a Buckeye, and I love the Bucs, so I'm never going to talk you off the Egbuka train.
Yeah.
Godwin, of course, banged up, but I actually do have a bet in this game. It's not a prop, but I'll give it out. I'll check what the odds are. I'll just look at FanDuel because I have it open, but please line shop. Anytime you bet anything ever, line shop. If you don't have exchanges like Novig, absolutely amazing. Promo code BetSmart. Make sure to take advantage there. I have a comment in chat, actually. Cosmos reposted. That's my best boy. Appreciate you. What's the price now on this one? I bet the Falcons at plus 120. I'm seeing a 108 at FanDuel, but please, always line shop for every single bet you ever take. You win more when you win. You lose less when you lose. I am high on Atlanta this year, Jake. I don't know what your thoughts are on the NFC South. I actually think the Panthers are going to be pretty solid. The Saints, I think, are a dumpster fire waiting to happen. Of course, Tampa Bay has been Spencer Rattler, man. I mean, Spencer Rattler.
That's it. That's where it starts and ends.
That's where it starts and ends. Don't need to dive too deep into there with Mr. Rattler. But I bet the Falcons on the money line. I'm very high on Atlanta. I talked about this on stream last week that I'm very high on Mr. Drake London as well, generally speaking. But I have the Falcons to win the NFC South.
Really?
A lot of it is going to come down to, of course, Mr. Michael Penix Jr. But with that being said, let's look at some of his numbers for this year. He had a couple of starts. These games don't count as backups. Giants 202. Washington played really well in that game, brought him to overtime, if you guys remember. He made some really big throws, but of course the Washington D is horrible. But then 312 on Carolina. Yes, Carolina was one of the worst Ds, probably the worst D in football last year, but it kind of should give you a little bit of confidence when he's doing what he's supposed to do, of dicing up a shitty team.
Yeah.
I want to look at the season total for Penix, actually. I'm curious.
And while we're on the Falcons, I love everything about Bijan Robinson. I think he goes absolutely nuclear this year.
Oh, I mean, Bijan. You don't got to tell me twice about Bijan.
Love it.
You get any shares in fantasy of Bijan this year?
Yeah, I did. I have him in my best ball league that I drafted him yesterday. Not yesterday. Yeah, it was yesterday, actually. in one of my drafts yesterday. Dude, I'm in too many fantasy leagues that I'm losing track on who I have and what. Like, it's fun to have my feet in a whole bunch of different puddles here, but it's also hard because you're rooting for your team, and then there's somebody on another team that you're playing that is on one of your other teams, and you're like, Do I want them to do good? Do I want them to shit the bed?
Yeah, it's hard because like when you have too many leagues going, you don't even know what you're rooting for at this point.
I know it's just hard to say no.
So let's keep going, but I don't have any props there. I know you're the resident Dolphins fan. I know you haven't fully dove into any games, but now we have a confirmation of Daniel Jones starting for the Indianapolis Colts. Jake, I know we talked about this a little bit a couple streams ago, just generally speaking about you have a little bit of bias. Can't lie.
I have a lot of bias, but I never put out bets to the public based on my heart, only my brain.
So that is very admirable of you. But talking about this week 1 game, Jake, or also, HN, he looks like he's good to go week 1.
Good to go. Just going to say that.
He's healthy. Obviously, week 1's a little bit always unique because teams have all summer to prepare for that week. Of course, they're doing training camp stuff, getting in shape, figuring out the roster, preseason, game plans, etc. But of course, you have the ample time for your week 1 opponent. Colts, of course, not expected to be so good this year with what they got going on. But Jake, tell me if you have, or if you don't have, it's all good. But for this matchup with Miami, what do you expect to see with the Dolphins? Obviously, you have like the Tyreek Hill being a little bit of a diva wide receiver this year, which is not too surprising. Obviously, Tua healthy. Any thoughts on how you think this one might play out?
Well, I am a little shocked to see the Dolphins be the underdog here. I'm not saying they should be a huge favorite, but I definitely think that this line is wrong just in general. I think we're now putting a lot of pressure on the Colts and Daniel Jones because the weak spot of the defense of the Dolphins is right now their DBs, right? Like, is Daniel Jones going to be the guy to like dice them up through the air? Because I don't see them really running all over the Dolphins, even though Jonathan Taylor and that Colts O-line is good. Like, the Dolphins defense against the run was top in the league last year, and now they've only improved that with all their guys that were hurt are now back. Jalen Phillips, Bradley Chubb. They just signed Matthew Judon for some depth. I don't see them running the ball all over the Dolphins. So we're really relying on Daniel Jones and the Colts passing game to carve up the Dolphins secondary. I don't know if I see that. On the flip side, I mean, I'm high on Miami's offense. I really am. If Tua could stay healthy, I think even if he doesn't stay healthy, our backups aren't terrible. Like, these are the best backups we've had probably in the last 5 years, honestly. Like, we were relying on Skylar Thompson for 3 years in the playoffs. Like, that's not going to cut it. I'm really big on Jalen Waddle as well. I think he takes a huge leap this year. If we don't have Tyreek for the whole season, obviously we're not going to send him away for nothing. Jalen Waddle is the number 1 guy after that, hands down. Malik Washington had a great camp. Darren Waller's an absolute like curveball. Who knows what we're not going to know what to expect with him until halfway through the season. Probably it could turn out good, it could turn out bad, but like looking at it at a holistic point of view, I see a Miami Dolphin defense that is going to play well against the strengths of the Colts offense. And then I see a Miami offense who should be able to put up some points against this Colts defense. And the Dolphins are the underdog. Now I have to look more into it. This is just my initial reaction, looking at the numbers, looking at what happened in the preseason, looking at who they're naming starters and stuff. And that's not a biased opinion at all. That's even if I was a freaking Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan, I'd still probably look at this the same way.
No, I totally get that. And this goes back to, I think, a little bit of the points I was making about like the preparation for week 1, how week 1's always a little bit of a different animal. Because you can have priors coming to the season. Like, for example, I think Miami has a chance to be one of the worst teams in the NFL. I think Miami finishing 4th in the AFC East, and the Jets even, who I'm very low on as well, having let me rephrase that. I think there's a non-zero chance Miami is one of the worst teams in the NFL. I think they could finish 4th. I think the Jets could have a better record, but that doesn't mean necessarily that happens week 1. We see this all the time where there's a crappy team that, goes 2-1 to start the season that, everyone's low on, and then all of a sudden, the wheels fall off and they become one of the worst teams in football. So I am a little bit surprised by the number because while I think the Colts are worse in this matchup, I think again though, as bad as the Colts could be, and like of course you got Daniel Jones starting, like maybe I'm a hater and I don't have any action on it, so like don't quote me on it, though I do think Miami can be very bad this year. The
I'll
moral
call
of
you on that
once,
one. Talk to me in week 10 when we're 7-3, okay?
yeah, we could definitely revisit this conversation to week 10 because I'll be streaming all
That was
freaking
my heart
season
talking.
long.
That was my heart talking.
At least 6 days a week all season long. So make sure you follow me at GoBetSmart. Again, if you're on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. On Twitch, hit that follow button. But with that being said, your priors, your season priors, you think a team's going to be amazing, you think it's going to stink, should not affect your week one betting because week one is just a very different animal. With that being said, if you think that there is a clear like misprice on a game, like yeah, you could be potentially getting a lot of value on something that you don't necessarily think is there. Like I'm just looking from a side perspective, like the Jets plus the 3, I think is actually a great bet because I think that the Steelers and Aaron Rodgers are washed, and I think that the Jets are not good, but I think they actually could be like a 6-7 win team instead of like the 5.5 win team they're projected as. The moral of the story is, one, don't die on the hills for your priors in week one, and 2, be open to changing your opinion. For example, if Miami is 3-0 and the metrics are saying that this is a really good offense, and of course regression can happen like it does in every sport, but like if I think Miami secondary is terrible and potentially the worst in football, but say one of their training camp guys is playing really well that they signed, or like some of the veterans that got off the street are playing well, you got to be able to look at yourself and say, maybe I was wrong, and change your opinion and go from there. Do not stick to your same priors all season long, whether it be you think a team stinks or you think a team's going to be great. You got to be willing and ready and able to change your opinion on teams as the season goes on. And that applies to not just every single sports and sports betting, but also honestly everything in life.
And trades happen. Other teams in the division, star quarterbacks get hurt and there's injuries that affect the rest of your schedule, the rest of their schedule. So a lot of factors. You do have to have an open mentality going into like literally every week. You can't just go into week one and be like, all right, I'm dying on this hill. It's not how it's going to work. There's curveballs all throughout the season, and that's why we love the damn sport.
That's why, again, the highest variance sport of all sports. You can't predict what's going to happen in the National Football League week in and week I can't speak.
Go ahead, get
week
it out.
in and week out. You cannot predict what's going to happen to a T. Of course, you're going to have some takes that are amazing. You're going to eventually have some takes that are crappy. And on that note, I'll talk about a team I think is going to be good, though they have, of course, a tough week one opponent in the Denver Broncos, who definitely have one of the better defenses in football. Of course, one of the best head coaches in football. But I am a big fan of Cam Ward and the Tennessee Titans this year. I think the Tennessee Titans are one of those teams where just like every year in the National Football League, there's a bunch of turnover in teams that don't make the playoffs, that then make the playoffs after, and vice versa. I think Cam Ward is going to be a good football player. I think the Titans are potentially playoff bound. Of course, that's like a plus 300 bet. So like, obviously still unlikely for it to happen, though I do have some action on that, as well as Titans over 5.5 wins. Jake, have you done any preview on the AFC South / Tennessee in general? Do you have any debates here? Because I'm a believer in Mr. Cam Ward.
Dude, no debates. I haven't done any deep breakdown on this division, but I think we don't see another year like Tony Pollard had. I think he steps it back up. They did some work to their O-line. I think Cam Ward is, even though he's a rookie, I think his mentality is way above rookie level.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got some weapons, dude. Calvin Ridley is good. Tyler Lockett, that they have the veterans in there. Van Jefferson, he can make things happen too. So they're not like some beat upable team. I definitely don't think that they should be plus 7.5 going into this week. I mean, I know the Broncos made the playoffs last year. Bo Nix is probably going to make a leap. I do like Bo Nix and the Broncos, and that defense is probably going to be elite again. So that's probably where the odds makers are looking at it. It's like, all right, we have this elite defense against a rookie quarterback and an offense that didn't do anything last year. They're not going to be able to do anything in this game in week one. But, dude, it's hard to not look at that 7.5 and be like, I'll take it,
I'm absolutely intrigued by the 7.5. And also, but the one other factor that is definitely mixed into this line is, of course, the Broncos being one of the teams with the best home field advantage in the National
Yeah,
Football League,
in
of course,
Denver.
at Mile High, and you can't really replicate that. You know what I mean? Like unless the Titans have been practicing in Denver, which I think we would have saw a lot of reports on if that was what was going on.
They're sneaking that shit in there, you know.
Yeah, the Titans, no cameras, no media. They secretly PJ'd the whole team out to somewhere in the Rocky Mountains. Of course, not happening. But no, I'm a big Cam Ward guy. I think he's going to be a good player. And like you mentioned with Calvin Ridley, I'm absolutely a fan of Calvin Ridley this year for fantasy, especially if you get him like later. And the guys I'm talking about, of course, if you can, you're drafting third. Yeah, draft Bijan, draft Gibbs. Get your studs. Like the guys who are going to win your league. And again, not trying to be Mr. Fantasy here because that's not really my forte, though. Of course, I dabble with like one or two leagues. I keep it low key. But moral of the story is your league winners are going to be the guys you draft in the 7th round, the guys you draft in the 9th round, the guys you draft in the 12th round. So back to the
waivers.
Guys you pick up off waivers, exactly. So the Keon Coleman's of the world, the Austin Ecklers, and the Calvin Ridleys of the world for me are guys that deep in drafts are definitely worth it. But Jake, I want to talk quickly Steelers Jets because I am intrigued by the Jets plus the 3.
Read my mind. I want to dig into this game too.
Of course, we got Justin Fields QB1. You got Aaron Rodgers QB1 for Pitt now. I mean, is Justin Fields really QB1 or is he RB2 with Brees?
The latter. The latter.
Absolutely the latter. But Jake, I guess I know you mentioned that on a different show. You did a AFC East deep dive. I already gave my opinion on the Jets that I don't think they're making the playoffs. I think they could win 6 or 7 and not go like 3, have like a 3-win team, like it's possible with their 5.5 win total there. But talk to me a little bit on your preseason Jets breakdown.
Yeah, I mean, Tanner Engstrand does run an RPO offense. That's the only thing going in their favor here is Justin Fields can be good in the RPO, but like, is it really going to be an RPO or is it just going to be like an R? You know,
Yep.
like is it just going to be the R offense? Their success is going to rely on his arm, dude. If they're just going to be running the ball and doing run pass options on every play, if he's not able to do the pass part of that, they're going to be too predictable. I do think their defense is going to be good again. But they have so much potential with Garrett Wilson. But then who else? Like, who's their number 2 receiver now? You know, like we're in an NFL league where almost every single team has a shutdown cornerback or safety or some sort of scheme where you can lock up a number 1 receiver and make teams beat you with their number 2, number 3 guy, their tight ends, their running backs, their play calling. Like, are the Jets going to be able to do that? Because I think that's what it's going to come down to. I think they can have spurts of being good. The games where Fields runs for 80 yards and throws for 150 and a touchdown, maybe, like those are the games that they're gonna win. But what about the games where he throws for 99 and rushes for 20? Like, it's going to be impossible to win games that way, especially in their division. Like, I think the Patriots going to be pretty decent. They're not going to be a rollover like they were really last year. So, and they got to play all those teams twice. The Dolphins going to have a good run defense, right? We just went over that. Maybe not the best pass defense. Is he going to be able to throw the ball? Who knows? New England, they're going to have a pretty good defense. The Bills improved their defense. And again, another team that they have a good run defense. It's their pass defense that was always questionable, their safeties and their secondary. So I just don't see the road to success or the playoffs for them whatsoever. Now, are they great to take with the points? If I think they're going to be running the ball a lot and the clock is going to get chewed away and they have a good defense, like, yeah, if they're +6, +7, it might be worth taking them in certain spots. But look, now, what is this, an Aaron Rodgers revenge game, right? Like, what are we going to expect here? I could see him absolutely snapping. He has DK. He has another weapon, but who's their number 2? You know, they got rid of Najee Harris. They're relying on Warren. So this could be a boring game, but like, I'm going to watch it.
I mean, it's week 1 of the NFL, man. If you're not sitting on your couch all day on Sunday, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. But let's shift the conversation quickly, though, to Rodgers. Like, I was a guy where I was definitely, for the last couple of years, like, Rodgers is washed. But then, like, probably the square in me that, was using other people's opinions, friends' opinions, that like hitting my subconscious, like, yo, if anybody's going to turn it around, it's going to be Rodgers. I mean, don't get me wrong, when he went to the Jets, I faded the crap out of the Jets for the last 2 years. 209 is a really short number. I know the Jets' pass defense was excellent last season, but I know that, again, like Arthur Smith, OC, the Steelers are definitely going to be trying to run the rock a little bit more, or I shouldn't even say a little bit more. Not like they didn't run the rock a ton last year.
Yeah, I don't think they could run it anymore, possibly. They were getting booed at their own home stadium.
Exactly. But, Jake, I don't know what your last 2-year stances were on Rodgers. So I guess fill me on that, / based on that, is there any shot in your brain that Aaron Rodgers has that one last year in him, or is this shit as cooked as can be? Because obviously that's the side I'm on.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to sit here and I could see him having a good season. Then when he went to the Jets, I thought he was going to do much better. I thought that was going to turn out much better than it did. I mean, first game of the season, he's out for the season with a torn Achilles. Then the following year, they bring in his boy Devontae, and he basically builds that team, and then they still suck. Is he capable? Yes. I'd be more interested to see his completions versus his yards, because he is the type of guy that is going to get the ball out quick, especially after this injury, dude. He gets the ball out quick. He doesn't even want to take the chances back there. He's the check down king. I mean, DK doesn't want to hear that. But then talking about DK, they're going to be throwing him a lot of quick screens, a lot of quick game out in the when he's isolated, out against one cornerback, quick 5-yard out, let him catch the ball, quick hitch, let him catch the ball, make a guy miss. So that can go hand in hand with the yardage, but I would feel way more comfortable in taking a play on his completions or pass attempts. He's still going to throw the ball, and you might even get his pass attempts. The line might be adjusted a lot lower just because he's a Steeler now, but are they, he still makes all the audibles there. It's not like if he sees something and the play call is a run and he's like, no, I want to go to a quick game and throw a slant, he's doing it. So I think he's going to have a little more of a green light to make those audibles and those changes and throw the ball. Is he going to be throwing the ball for 350 and 3 touchdowns again, like back in the day? Don't count on it. I could totally see him having a terrible season and retiring. I don't want to see that from him, but like, what is this? The Green Bay effect? Brett Favre did it, and then Aaron Rodgers came in, took his spot. Brett Favre was terrible on the Jets, terrible on the freaking Vikings. Now, what? Aaron Rodgers is going to do the same thing and overstay his welcome in the NFL. I don't know. I hope for the best, but I mean, based on the data, it's not trending that direction.
It's not, but all that to being said, so you were talking, so we have completions at 20.5, pass attempts at 31.5. So I feel like relatively in line, though. As you see by hit rates here, 65%, of course, entirely new team. So I'm not taking this into account, but I am just curious because, like you mentioned there, while Rodgers, of course, was literally QB1 / assistant GM / assistant head coach from the Jets, I don't think
Tom offensive coordinator.
Yeah, / OC / pass game coordinator / freaking probably tight end coach
slash injured reserve captain.
Exactly. So while all that is true, and I don't think will be true in Pittsburgh, the pass yard seems low. 207.5 seems low. The total's 37.5. The Jets, of course, do have a good pass defense. Now they have, of course, Aaron Glenn, who is a defensive-minded guy. Though the secondaries in Detroit the last couple of years were dog water, for whatever that's worth. Obviously, new team, new personnel, etc. So not trying to die on those prior hills. This seems really, really low, though, 207.5.
Yeah, it's low, but I could still see it going under, and here's why. I just talked about it with the Jets. If the Jets win ball games, what are they going to be doing? Running the ball, eating up the clock. They have a good defense. Like, I don't see it. If they're scoring, they're not scoring on big 80-yard touchdowns. Like, they're going to put drives together. They're going to milk 6-7 minutes off the clock. Now, in this case, I could see the Steelers being up most of the game and trying to do the same thing. They love to run the ball. Like, I think the clock is going to be the only thing that would make this total go under, is if both teams are chewing up the clock, putting together long drives, and then punting at the 50-yard line and flipping the field position. And that's what these two teams love to do. They love to flip the field position. That's why they average 7 points a game for the last however many years. But It's a low number, but you have to think it's for a reason. Like we just talked about the Jets defense being good. It can cause problems. What has Aaron Rodgers done to tell us, oh, he's going to fly over this number in the last couple of years? So it's low,
Yeah.
but something personally, this is where I wouldn't touch it if I was putting a bet unless I had a gun to my head.
That's a good point, but I do want to rebuttal. And while it's not apples to apples on my rebuttal here, but it does tie back to what we were discussing a little bit earlier on stream. With props, especially, there are going to be times where I feel like, and I say I feel, but I will say I know because I track the market on these games. I'm always looking at opening lines to closing lines, line movement based on injury reports, etc. And again, I say it's not apples to apples because I'm going to talk about Justin Herbert. There were times last year where Justin Herbert's passing yard prop was like 210, 215, 220. And you could say whatever you want to say about Justin Herbert, the postseason lack of success, the this, the that. Like, that's not the debate I'm having here. But if you're telling me Justin Herbert, a guy with a rocket arm on a good team, yeah, they ran the ball more. Yeah, I'm sure they played. I mean, last year they had a little bit of a cupcake schedule. But the moral of my story again here is that, especially at times, there are going to be times where the base number is just simply way too low. And like, yes, you can make the argument or they're playing against a good defense, and you can, list all the other metrics you want to list. And I'm not debating that. End of the day, I'm talking about the number that's offered at the sports book, right? And Justin Herbert at 210 or 220, 215, that's just way too low for a guy of his talent. Again, not apples to apples because Aaron Rodgers at this point is nowhere near as good as a Justin Herbert is. I know, again, there's Herbert haters. I'm not one of them. I still think he's an absolute stud. But 207.5 to me is too low. And like, again, you can list the laundry list of reasons why it won't hit, but could be my square brain, like one of those bell curve beams. Like on one side, Aaron Rodgers is pretty good, too low. The middle, all those stats. Other side, Aaron Rodgers is still pretty good, too low. Pretty good, again, debatable. But I'm not locking this in quite yet. I want to look at a different tool and see how the odds have moved for this number. But all things considered, I am intrigued by Aaron Rodgers over 207.5. That does seem a little bit low to me. But
in your defense, it's not like the Jets' pass defense was amazing last year. Like they were kind of middle of the pack. It was their run defense was the better of the two. So that's another thing. I mean, if the Steelers can't run the ball, they're going to be forced to throw the ball. So I could see where you're coming from. There's just going to be so much on the slate. Like this is where I look at a play like this and I'm like, all right, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it or trying to pick a side when I could probably find another 20 plays if I allocate the time properly.
And then this is actually a good point to make here, like to back up what I'm saying as well. So like right here, Justin Fields 178.5. We're talking about Justin Fields. Back to that Colts Miami game quickly. Daniel Jones 193.5. So if you say, Eric, why are you not using that same logic on these guys? It's because Justin Fields is a running back and Daniel Jones might as well be a tight end. So they don't fit like that criteria. And again, while Aaron Rodgers at this point is closer to the 20th best quarterback than the first best quarterback, or like the 5th, 6th, 7th, as Herbert probably is, that my logic that I was kind of outlining does not apply to a guy like a Daniel Jones or a Justin Fields, but to a guy like a Aaron Rodgers still, who I could see why it's on the fence if he applies to this. But for me, I think it's too low. So yeah, we have a couple more games. Like we're just flying through. I hope you guys are enjoying. If you guys are, if you're watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. Twitch, hit that follow button. If you're watching on X, go to YouTube, hit the subscribe button. Go to Twitch, hit that follow button, and also subscribe or follow on X at Money Badger Jake at Go Bet Smart. Let's keep rocking. We'll fly through some of the other games. We'll love talking ball for all you guys. So if you have any questions, of course, chat is also always open as well.
What about a 49ers Seahawks game here?
Let's do it. We got Darnold 206.5, Purdy 245.5. I'm looking just at FanDuel and make sure you line shop every time you bet. Niners laying 2.5, total 44.5. You brought it up, so I'm curious your thoughts. I have more holistic thoughts on these two teams, generally speaking, but I'll save that for after you give some game here, Jake.
Yeah, I mean, I think I wanted to bring it up just because I'm a big Ricky Pearsall fan. I think we just talked about sophomore years coming off injuries. I mean, his injury was more of an unfortunate event, I guess you could say. But I think he takes a huge leap here, dude. No more Deebo Samuel, so that's big. He's sitting at the wide receiver 2. I could see him being the wide receiver 1 by week 3, right? Like right now it's Jawan Jennings. They
Mhm.
also just picked up Sky Moore as like a little flex guy. He's going to be returning punts for them. He's going to be probably their 4th receiver in. Who is their 3rd right now? Let me check. Oh, Marquez Valdez-Scantling. I forgot that they had him too. So yeah, I mean, I think this offense is pretty well put together. They just got B-Rob from your boys, and as RB number 2 behind McCaffrey. That's another story. What's McCaffrey going to do this year? Is he going to be Christian McCaffrey of like, let's score a touchdown every game again? Is he going to be the injured Christian McCaffrey? You can never expect that type of stuff, but statistically speaking, based on data from the past, like, yeah, he's very injury prone. But yeah, I'm very intrigued by this 49ers team, and I think the line is like 2.5. So it's a good spot to look at. I would like the 49ers here at -2.5. I have not locked anything in, so I'm literally just going off the dome based on what we're talking about, what I'm looking at, what I've looked at over the past couple of weeks. Nothing is official yet, so that will be, and I'll drop those plays when the time is right. But yeah, I'm very intrigued with the 49ers, especially after a little bit of a letdown year last year.
Yeah, and the letdown year, it was really injuries. The Super Bowl hangover is a lot more prevalent actually for the losing team than the winning team. I think that's also something that's worth noting. And I was talking up on the Chiefs earlier, but I think if anybody's going to defy any statistics, I would assume it'd be like a Mahomes guy. But overall, though, this division is very intriguing to me. I think we have 4 good teams. I don't think we have any great teams. I don't think we have any bad teams. And we just have 4 solid football teams coming out of the NFC West. I like the Cardinals this year. I think Seattle, I was big on them last year. They ended up cashing my win total for me, but I didn't make the playoffs, as we know, which I had action on as well. So I ended up like breaking even on Seattle stuff. I think a slight winner. I had some McDonald COY, which of course didn't win, but also had some KOC, which was fantastic. Lost a chance off for a hot sec, but I don't have a big opinion on this. I just think that these NFC West games all year long are going to be fun as hell.
Yeah, and I'm also excited to see what Seattle does. I mean, I just talked about San Fran, but Seattle's kind of a makeshift team too. We have Sam Darnold. Is he going to be Sam Darnold from last year? Like, that was unexpected, and he came and made his name for himself again. Obviously, Kenneth Walker. They got Jackson again. Now they have Cooper Kupp. No, they got some names there on offense too that are going to be exciting to watch and see how they all mesh together.
Absolutely. And the thing too about Seattle, not to belabor this one without any plays, and
Is that they have the 12th man?
Nah, I mean the 12th man is not as prevalent as it was, but
it's like 11.5 now.
Like more like 11 like 3, we'll call it 11.3.
Right.
But I do want to say though, on the defensive front, jokes aside, McDonald is a defensive guy, and last year the defense was banged the hell up to start the year, which is why they had kind of that slow start, and then did come on a little bit late toward the end of last season. So I'm just gonna leave it at I'm very curious to see what they look like with a full, with a healthy team, year 2 in a McDonald's system, and probably a expected, or I should say projected, better defense. But for a lot of new viewers come in, I know we're talking a little bit more holistic overviews, but we did bet some games. I don't know what games in the MLB started, so I'm just going to say them anyway. We did bet some MLB. Jake bet Blue Jays -1.5 plus 114. Nerfy, Colorado, Houston, and Dodgers team total under 4.5. And as far as prop bets go for week 1, I already locked in for stream Austin Eckler over rushing receiving yards, 43.5, as well as Austin Eckler touchdown. So those are plays that I already locked in for week 1, and Jake has some MLB for tonight's slate. So just for all the new viewers, we're talking holistic ball and some season previews, etc. But I did have some bets for week 1. A couple more games. Might as well finish off the slate here. We'll keep it quick on the ones who don't have any.
Yeah, and I have an update on the Blue Jays. They're down 1-0, so you might even be able to get them at a nice little price live right now. Oh, still -130 live, so on the money line.
Gotcha. I gave this out on stream last week, but I'll talk about it again quickly just because the number is a little bit egregious in my opinion. I'll keep it short for everybody who watched last week. So, make sure you guys are tuning in and hit that follow button because I'll be streaming quite literally all year long, all NFL season long. Past TDs. Bryce Young. This was 16 and a half on stream last week, quite literally 7 days ago. So for those who were watching with me last week, shout out to you guys. Hopefully you guys tailed and got in at that 16 and a half, though I do still like the 17 and a half as well. Jake, any debates there? I'll do a quick spiel, but that number to me is way too damn low.
It is very low. Is their line going to suck? Like, it's going to be hard to get there if he's just getting sacked every play.
But if they're also losing by 20 every game, they're going to throw the ball 50 times.
That is true. And I really am high on McMillan. I think he's going to be very good. They low-key got Rico Dowdle, too, to back up Chuba. So a little depth there. And they did make moves on their O-line. I can't sit here and say they're going to be as bad as they were last year, but they're injury-ridden already. So it might be one of those seasons. That is a low number, though, you know. Let me look at their schedule really quick, because that always
While you're looking, I'll talk through this chart though right here with props.cash. Of course, this doesn't necessarily matter, but think about the games he was benched, and then he came back 2, 4, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So 16 in not even close to a full season. Without really any weapons at all. Of course, they used their high draft capital on McMillan, so of course they're expecting him to be a great player. Leggett year 2, we'll see if he has that year 2 leap. Everybody loves Jalen Coker. Yeah, they can run the ball with Chuba. They did that really well last season, but to me, a 17 and a half line is like a Daniel Jones, Justin Field line for a guy who's like borderline, like should even be in the National Football League. Bryce Young, to me, showed last year after the benching all the traits you wanted to see and expected to see from him coming into last year. So again, I know that everybody who was on stream last week heard this monologue, so I'm not going to really keep going. But long story short, in my opinion here with Bryce Young, a team that's going to be probably down a bunch in games, a team that I also think is better than their season-long price. I think the Panthers are primed to be a more improved team, and I think that starts with quality quarterback play. And we're talking about a number that's just ridiculously low. Like that is like literally like borderline like NFL low. And Bryce Young, while of course he again is closer to like the 20th best quarterback than anything above that. I don't. Obviously injuries can happen, but I don't think it's he's going to be getting benched again. I don't think he's going to be like so bad where he's unplayable like he looked like times last year. I think he realistically showed toward last year that like no, he's an NFL football player. How good TBD, but 17 and a half touchdowns is a really low number. So Bryce Young, give me the season total of the over.
Yeah, and to back your claim here, 5 of their first 6 games are against dog water secondaries. Jaguars, Cardinals, not terrible, but they were bottom tier last year. Falcons, pretty bad. Patriots, the only somewhat respectable, but still not great. Dolphins, pretty bad secondary. Cowboys, pretty bad secondary. Then they play the Jets, the Bills, the Packers, but they still have to play the Saints twice, the Falcons again, and the Bucks twice after that. So lots of room for Bryce Young to sling the ball around. And I mean, that is a stupid low number now that I'm looking at their schedule. I mean, what secondaries are going to lock them up like that?
Of course, you might have some zeros. We might hopefully see some threes. Chuba's, of course, going to get his. You said Dowdle can get his as well. They went out of their way to improve their pass catching unit. Of course, they traded Thielen today, but that was a great move for their roster, like moving forward.
Yeah, it was.
So I'm a fan of. I'm not gonna say I'm a fan of like Carolina for this like resurgence, amazing season like I am with the I think the Titans can actually like make the playoffs. I don't think the Falcons can go from terrible to making the the Panthers go from terrible to making the playoffs. But I think Bryce Young 17.5 is too low.
They can rain on some parades though. You know, like they have the Bucks 2 of the 3 last games of the season. Like I can see the Bucks needing to win those games, and maybe the Panthers being like "F you," and they might beat them. So,
no, for sure. Let's go to another game here. We have only a couple left. We've talked about through almost everything, and also hit that again follow button for me at GoBetsPar and for Jake at Money Badger Bets, because we'll be streaming so often this season. I'll be streaming every day. We'll be talking ball. So, I give out this. And we'll also be locking in more plays. I only have locked into week 1 props, like locked in, like I'm betting them for week 1. Of course, we're talking some futures. Another future that I took, Cardinals to make the playoffs. I think their defense is going to be much improved from last season. They play a much easier schedule last year. They played an absolute gauntlet to start the year last year and still were about a 500 team. Like I mentioned earlier, the NFC West is kind of like a crapshoot. I think the Commanders definitely regress a little bit. I think the Lions regress a little bit. I think the Vikings regress a little bit, though I think the Packers are still the best team in that north there. I bet the Cardinals make the playoffs. I'm not in love with Kyler Murray whatsoever. I think he's actually like still pretty mid. But with that being said, he's still like mid is still decent in the NFL. So I'm expecting.
Don't talk about his height like that. That's not cool.
I mean, bro, I talk about that independent study clause that I'll never forget that. I'll never let that change my opinion on him because whenever you have that put into a contract, that's enough said there. But I'm not going to belabor this point here. I'm a fan of Jonathan Gannon. I'm a fan of the overall roster, despite not being in love with Kyler. Just because I don't love Kyler doesn't mean he's terrible, though I don't think he's very, very good or anything like that. But long story short, I like the Cardinals this year, Jake, but they're playing the Saints. They're laying 5.5 on the road. Again, week 1 is a tough week because as much as you want to say the Saints are horrible, and they probably definitely are going to be, I don't have a total opinion on this, though. The future that I have is Cardinals to win it, to make the playoffs.
Yeah, they also got my boy Calais Campbell from the Dolphins, the old veteran. So that was a nice little pickup for them. I think that they should handle the Saints pretty easily here. I'm with you on the Cardinals being a good team this year. I mean, I don't think they do anything special. Now, did you take them just to make the playoffs? Because you also just mentioned you think they're going to win the division. Do you
just make the playoffs? No division.
Okay. Because I was going to say I could see them making a wild card spot maybe, but depends on how a lot of things play out. The Saints, like, they just don't have a quarterback. They really don't. Alvin Kamara has been holding his own. Everyone thinks he's going to eventually fall off, and he's still the same Alvin Kamara every single year. They have some pieces on defense, but I don't think they have enough. I feel like the Cardinals are a little more seasoned, I would say. Marvin Harrison Jr., hopefully he makes strides. We just talked about Keon Coleman earlier in his sophomore year. Like, Marvin Harrison is probably going to be in that same boat. Still Michael Wilson, Zay Jones. So guys back, and they didn't have that. Those are all guys that had no chemistry last year with Kyler. So I could see them making a leap here. I think they're a little bit of a sleeper team to make the playoffs. I could get behind that bet with them making the playoffs, but 5.5 is just such a weird number. I mean, no way I'm taking the Saints plus 5.5. If anything, it's Cardinals all the way. Might be a nice little. I wonder what the first half line is. Do we have that or no?
I'm looking at FanDuel right now, see if they have first half up.
Let me see if they have that, because if it's like -2.5, -3, I kind of like that.
I'm not seeing. Oh, first half spread. It's 3.5. So
3.5. Yeah, not liking that as much, but
line shop, because I'm looking at just at FanDuel, not in on screen.
Yeah,
so
DK is -3.5, Bet365 -3.5, C's everything is bet -3.5 right now.
Copy that.
Almost the same, all at standard juice -110.
Cincinnati, Cleveland. Jake mentioned he didn't bet this, but like gun to his head, he'd bet Burrow MVP. I am very anti-Cincinnati personally. Their defense is atrocious. I think Zach Taylor is a terrible head coach. Joe Burrow is obviously epic. Jamar Chase is obviously epic. But I just don't think that they're a team that's going to be able to take like a Super Bowl leap. I'm like kind of very anti-Bengals in futures markets, especially in the win total. If a book offered them no on Bengals, obviously the price would be very high to win the Super Bowl, but I would still like look in that direction. I don't want to spend too much time like doing the whole Shedeur Sanders nonsense. Everyone sees what happens on the media. They're going with Flacco. They're trying to run the football.
And Dylan Brooks is the backup, so Shedeur's not even backup.
Yeah, Shedeur's
QB3. Just named Dylan Brooks backup. I mean,
Dylan
Gabriel backup last night. So
yeah, so don't want to get into that discussion, but I do. Total 47.5. Of course, the Bengals offense should be great. That seems high to me. I definitely like the under there because Cleveland, like I said, it's like, yeah, Flacco can like have his fun and sling the rock, and like this Bengals defense is porous, but I think the Browns are really just going to try to run, and take off as much clock as possible here. And I don't think the Browns defense is going to be like abysmally bad in like week one. Again, you have the division game, you have all that time to prepare. So I haven't locked this in, but like my first thoughts here are the under on this one. Any thoughts on this Bengals Browns game? Of course, I know like you must like the Bengals a little bit if you like Burrow MVP though. Like I say in a little bit of jest because that was a gun to head bet and not something you have a real.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate it. I always look at those markets anyway. It's hard for me to pull trigger like so early in the season. I'm more of like a mid-season future bet type of guy because I like to also see how those lines opened up and how they move. Like, yeah, sometimes they don't move in my favor and maybe I just won't take the bet and I have nothing to lose if I have nothing out there. But I try to look for, okay, if I like Joe Burrow and he's plus 600 now preseason and they start out 2-3 and then he's plus 1100, like that's when I'll rip it. But I have a question for you regarding the whole MVP talk, right? So you just mentioned Bengals defense probably not going to be great again. You don't like their coach, but Joe Burrow's a baller. It's like last year he was in the MVP talk in the same exact situation, but they just didn't make the playoffs. Like, do you think that if they somehow went on a run there at the end, made the playoffs, like things are different with that outcome of MVP? Also, to the whole Pat Mahomes MVP future, it's kind of vice versa. Like they have a pretty good defense, Kansas City. I think they're going to have another good defense this year. It's like, is Mahomes' stats going to be padded and MVP worthy, even if they're winning games like so? But then you have a guy like Joe Burrow who's winning games and stacking the stats. Like what's your opinion there with good defense as well as performing on offense and how that affects the quarterback and their stats and their numbers and everything?
No, fantastic questions. So I'll answer your first question by saying I was anti-Burrow MVP last year under any circumstance, even if they made the playoffs. I was actually, if you gave me a vote, I was voting for Lamar last year. So I was entirely like off on the like how the media and how the voting went off. I was anti-Burrow and I would have voted for Lamar.
And I had no skin in that game, by the way. I'm just using it as an example.
No, I love it. Again, like really great question. When I say Mahomes MVP, I'm talking another pseudo 55K yard season. I think Mahomes goes nuclear this year. Like I'm talking not like the Chiefs go 13-3, but Mahomes has another, like 4,000 yard, which is obviously great, but like 4,035 touchdown. I'm talking like I think Mahomes has like a sophomore year, not like his actual sophomore year, but like his second year in the league as a starter type of situation where Mahomes like lights the league on fire again. So that is why I'm a fan of the Mahomes MVP because yes, that defense is good, but we also went through that schedule. But no, my thoughts on Mahomes is like a light the league on fire type of league. And then back to the final question there with Burrow and the Bengals, I struggle to see the Bengals winning double-digit games. I think they could win 10. I think the 11.5 win total is crazy. I like the under there, like absolutely. I think if the Bengals do get there, it's because Joe Burrow has a light the league on fire, 5,000-ish yard season with 50-ish touchdowns, like goes absolutely nuclear as well. But I think if we're talking better team, which is going to have the better record, which is going to eventually probably run the number one seed in the AFC, which of course you're going to have Allen and Lamar in that mix. But no, I think the Bengals might not win 10 games, absolutely might not make the playoffs, and the Mahomes W or the Mahomes MVP thought would be predicated on a absolute like masterclass season.
Okay, valid. Yeah, I mean the tail end of their season is also like a little mini gauntlet. Ravens, Bills, Ravens, best team in the league, Dolphins. They're probably going to lose that game. And then the Cardinals, and then the Browns is their final game. So we'll see where they're at there. Their schedule also isn't too easy, the Bengals. So that 11.5 win total is kind of high in my opinion. But I'm not leaning one way or the other there. Just briefly looking at their schedule, it's going to be hard for them to get to 12 wins, especially if their defense is the same defense as last year. Now, I don't think it will be that bad, but it's like even if they're a little better, they're still going to be a bad defense, a top tier defense. I meant a bottom tier defense. You know what I meant?
Absolutely. Just to clarify, so I was actually wrong. I don't know where I got that 11.5 from. Their win total is 9.5.
Oh, okay. I was going to say 11 and a
Yeah,
half.
no, I don't know where I got that from. So I just need to, because I was just thinking like that sounded too high. But either
Nice.
way,
That's
though,
a
like I
different.
said,
That's a different game. That's a much
I still
different
think they're a
line.
9-win team though. So like my thought process doesn't really change. Where I think that like they're at max a 10-win team. But I don't see it. Like I really don't see it. I know how good Burrow is. I obviously know how good Jamar Chase is, but I don't see it with Cincinnati.
I just think with them, you're like, how many games did they lose last year by single digits though? You know, like they're always within striking distance. Like they are really right there. And that's one thing. They don't really get blown out. You know?
Yeah, but I think it goes back to again like the defense being arguably even worse this upcoming year, as
Think
well
it's
as
gonna
the
be
head coach
worse?
being bad. I think it's yeah. I don't think that they're going to come at the game. Like Joe Burrow's going to have to, be Joe Burrow, which is obviously doable. We also know his injury history and how their offensive line does things. I could be sitting here with egg on my face, and I'll gladly change my opinion in a couple of weeks when we see what goes down in the National Football League. But the Bengals are absolutely not a team that I'm backing to win anything significant. But let's get right. We only have a couple more games here. Las Vegas, New England. Honestly, interesting as hell. I don't really have any initial thoughts. My first thought goes back to my Aaron Rodgers, is that this 215 for May is low as hell. But that's just a off the cuff first look thought. But talk to me, Jake. Do you have any thoughts on these teams generally speaking or anything? Because I really I think LV actually I'll quickly dive in. I think Gino is really going to be a good addition to them. I think LV is going to not be like a laughing stock like they've been, but I think the New England love is a little bit also overblown. I love Mike Vrabel. They obviously went out and improved the O line from a talent perspective, but I think there is a difference between like, yeah, you signed better players, or I should say players are expected to be better, but it doesn't fully mean they're going to be better. Obviously, when you're going from like the worst, like anything is going to be an improvement. But I think the Patriots are like not a playoff team. I think they're an 8-9 team. I think they're around the 500 ball club.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. And like, who were those guys that they went and got? Stephon Diggs coming off of a torn ACL, and he wasn't even the number one receiver in Texas last year. You know, like, who's their second wide receiver?
They
Kyle
have,
Miller,
yeah. Let's see
Mario
what they
Douglas. Like Mac Hollins isn't even in the talk there. Jalen Polk is on the IR. But on the flip side, let's talk about Ashton Genty for a second here.
Yep.
What is his touchdown line at in his R&R line?
So
I know there's
Genty
not going to be much
TD
stats there, but
minus 104. Let's see, do some line shopping here. So minus 104 at Caesars for a Genty touchdown, and R&R is 93.5.
oh my gosh, what is his season numbers looking like for rushing yard? I mean, because they don't have a wide receiver for the life of them. Like, I can go out there and be their number 2 receiver right now. I think I think their number 1 is Jacoby Myers. Maybe they just signed Amari Cooper, and where has he been for the last 3 years? Like,
yeah, and Jacoby also requested a trade the other day.
Or no, did he request a trade he requested a trade?
Jacoby Myers, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I'm
looking up there. I mean, they still have Brock Bowers, of course, but like
stud, by the way.
Absolute stud, but he can only do so much. Yeah, let's see. I have their roster right here. Yeah, Ashton Genty, and then they have Raheem Mostert as the backup. So that's not terrible, but Genty's going to be their guy. Then Jacoby Myers, Amari Cooper, Trey Tucker. They don't even have a 5th string receiver right now. Then it goes to Deontay Thornton and then Jack Beck. And then they don't even have a 6th receiver right now in the depth chart. I mean, that will change as they decide who they want to release in these next couple of days and who is going to fill those spots. But that's kind of pathetic.
It is kind of pathetic. I don't know. Either I'm blind or I'm not seeing Genty. I saw him the other week when I was streaming because I talked about how I kind of like the under on his rushing yards.
Can you filter it to alphabetical order or something?
Like I'm typing in, like I'm definitely not blind because I'm like he's straight up not there.
Well, I'm very curious to know what those numbers look like because I could just see them absolutely feeding him, running, and then I mean obviously, what's his face? Brock Bowers have another career year. Let me see if it's on. Let me see if I can find a line for it anywhere.
It's definitely on FanDuel somewhere. Yeah, it's on FanDuel. It's 1,755.5 for his total regular season rushing yards.
Wow.
So they're looking for a monster season.
Yeah, they're on board with me. It seems they couldn't put that at like 920 for me. Damn.
So last game on the Sunday slate, Detroit, Green Bay. Goff, Love, obviously no Ben Johnson, no Aaron Glenn. Lions also released Dan Skipper, who was a big part of their O-line, though I would assume they did that for good reason. Like, I think if they cut somebody who's been like a staple for them, it's because he probably was playing bad football. Jordan Love, I know, has a lot of love, all pun intended, in the MVP market. I think the Packers are one of the highly rated teams. I think Detroit can definitely take a step back. I definitely like the Packers outlook. But it's I don't know. I don't really have a ton of major thoughts here. I know the Packers are favored, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just confirm that quickly, just at least on FanDuel right now. Yeah, Packers are -1.5, so very slight favorites, -24 on the money line. What are your NFC North thoughts here? I kind of already went through mine through other games, but I don't think I got enough from you, Jake. So talk to me.
Yeah, in this game? I'll start with this game and say these are two teams that really not much has changed up for them. You know, like they're returning the core of their squads. They didn't do anything crazy in the offseason. Their team is still pretty intact. So I think you can expect similar play to what we got last year, which we know the Lions, not the best on defense. They could sling the ball and have tons of weapons on offense. I don't think that's going to change. I think their defense, with Hutchinson being back, he's a game changer. So if he stays healthy, they should be all right there and be slightly improved. And I think the Packers defense is going to remain the same. Division purposes, this is the division that I hate projecting the most because I hate the Bears. So
me too.
I mean, I don't really have hope for them either. Watching them play last year was like watching a high school team play sometimes. Like clock management, terrible. I have no faith in Caleb Williams. Like if there's 2 minutes left on the clock and he has the ball, I'm assuming they're losing. Like that's where I'm at with them. And then Minnesota, like I don't even know what to expect with Minnesota. Basically a rookie quarterback. They had a great year last year. They have one of the best receivers in the league. Aaron Jones is still there, right? So they're pretty much still intact too. But I don't see how. I mean, it's going to be Green Bay or Detroit. I think that's going to take this. But I could see two of these teams making the playoffs. One of them is going to get a wild card. A lot of people are low on the Lions this year, though.
Yeah, and I mean, it's like that's why I'm like a little bit torn on Detroit, because like the obvious thing is to be low on them because like, you know, no Ben Johnson, no Aaron Glenn, like having that 2 coordinator turnovers, obviously difficult. So that's like, again, like the easy conclusion to come to is that they're going to be bad, or at least take a step back when you win, you know, 12 plus games. Of course, that's the natural thought, is that they're going to take a step back. But
Dan Campbell's the guy, you know, like
I agree.
He's a player's coach, and what were they 3 years ago? You know, like they were a laughing stock, and now are they going to be like they were last year? Maybe not, but those players are in his back pocket. Like they love the dude. That's something that can't be taught or bought. Like when you love your coach and you're going to play for him and you have trust in him, like that's the type of chemistry that you really need to be a championship team. And look where they got last year. It's pretty impressive turnaround for them.
Yeah, they got smoked by the Commanders in the NFC Championship game, or NFC divisional game.
I kind of saw that coming, but yeah, I mean, still strides from the previous 2 seasons, though.
Of course. And then we're finally off here, Minnesota, Chicago. Season long, like you said, I am just like on market with Minnesota. I think that they're like last year I was a big Vikings guy, and like that obviously paid some dividends this year. Win total, their baseline is 8.5, I guess, because it's -145 for the over. So like I don't have any thoughts, but I will say with the Bears, I'm anti Ben Johnson. I am Bears baseline per se is 7.5. I like that under at plus money. I don't think Ben Johnson is going to all of a sudden revolutionize everything and make Caleb Williams great. I think the Bears, while they're not, again, the team is bad, obviously, it's like the Saints or maybe even like the Panthers. I think they're just still a cursed franchise. So I'm out on the Bears. No action on it, so I'm not gonna, belabor the points here. But for my money, if it's like, okay, like, go through all 32 teams and, do a win total, I'm Bears under, I'm Bears fade.
Yeah. I mean, on the flip side with Minnesota, it's like their number 2 receivers, Jordan Addison, he's out for multiple weeks. And like now Adam Thielen's their number 2 who got brought in with JJ McCarthy. It's different Thielen coming back if he had a quarterback that he knew, but him coming back is not anything crazy in my eyes because it's a brand new team. I don't even know what to expect. They have Justin Jefferson and then who? Jordan Addison's suspended. Adam Thielen is their number 3 right now, who's probably going to be their number 2. I don't know. I'll find something for this game, but I mean, Jalen Naylor is their backup, I guess. I don't know even know who's going to fill that void of Addison, but
I'm not going to take credit for this, but I did see a tweet. I have to even all right, he's not even showing up here, but there was a player. I don't even remember his name. Like if I saw it, I would
on what team
ring a bell on the Vikings. Lucky Jackson. It was Lucky Jackson. I don't know anything about him, but I did see that people that I respected. I forgot who the analyst was, so I would of course shout him out if I did remember. But he was like raving about this 11-1 on a Jackson touchdown just being, a good price for what he anticipates his role being. Of course, for this Vikings team that is, as we know, missing Addison. Do as you want the information. I'm not sitting here and saying it. I bet it or I'm necessarily recommending it. But again, it was somebody who, if I remembered whose tweet it was that I respect, I would of course be giving the credit to him as well. But he was big on the value that he perceived to see on Mr. Lucky Jackson to make a name for himself week 1.
It's interesting because I don't even see him on the depth chart.
I don't see him on FanDuel right now either. So 11-1 might be stale. Maybe he ended up getting cut. Maybe it was somebody I respect. I mean,
maybe he ended up getting cut. That wouldn't be a good look. I mean, they're probably still figuring things out.
They brought him back on the practice squad. So he's on the practice squad. But with Addison being hurt, they might call him up.
He's suspended.
Because Jalen Naylor got hurt with Addison suspended, but Naylor getting hurt.
Yeah.
Maybe they bring up Mr. Lucky Jackson.
Yeah, again, Ty Tylen is hurt too.
But that's a name that I guess I wish I could give the proper credit there. But that's a name that is on my radar now from whoever I read that from earlier.
What a sash, Eric, huh?
Absolutely. That was a great time. Shout out to all 987 of you guys for being in chat across every platform. If you guys aren't following Jake at Money Badger Bets on X, what the hell are you doing? Hit that follow button. If you guys aren't following at Go Bet Smart, what are you doing? Hit that follow button. Also on YouTube, hit that subscribe. Twitch, hit that follow. We have a ton of great content coming out on YouTube. We did a review of Props.cash, review of Pick the Odds, other betting tool. We have a bunch of short videos, short form content coming out, a bunch of long form content coming out, and of course, amazing tweets, amazing promos, amazing everything. If you guys are not using the fantastic Props.cash for NFL season, what are you doing? Also, now is the time to sign up. Promo code BetSmart. You save 30% off your first month. If you don't like it, that's okay. Move on, but you're going to like it. It's going to help you with your NFL handicapping. Jake, I appreciate you for hopping on. I appreciate all the viewers. We have some MLB sweats we're sweating. We're sweating Austin Eckler touchdown and rushing receiving yards confirmed, and I'll be streaming tomorrow, Friday, and Saturday, and then as well as literally like almost every day during the NFL season. So don't miss out. Hit that sub button, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you, Jake.